Hi guys, thanks for joining me for another Allan Holdsworth lesson video. Today I'm going to do a song that I originally did not want to do a lesson on. I didn't think there was that much interesting stuff going on in there, but anytime I have a copy of one of Allan's charts, I feel like I should do a video to sort of go through it. So this chart popped up on the Unreal Allan Holdsworth Facebook group a few months ago, and I thought it was pretty interesting to sort of go through it. And what I found interesting is that I think it also shines a light into how Allan actually not only thinks of the scales for his solo charts, but also his chords. And I'll explain that when we sort of get into it. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy this. We're going to do Alphrazallan. So this tune is relatively simple. It's really just a arpeggiated chord head that appears in the intro and the outro, and then a long sort of jam section. Now I thought that jam section was kind of improvised, but there is some harmony to it, which is the sheet that we're going to go through, Allan's written out sheet. So now I think this chord section has been around for a while, because there's a video of Allan playing at the Galaxy Theater in the year 2000, and he starts off the set by playing these chords. It's really the second half of this chord section that I'm going to show you, and then it's a long zone free improv jam, and then ends with that Material Unreal thing that he likes doing. So I think he had those chords or that idea for a while, and then eventually put it together into a more structured sort of tune. But as far as I know, there's no recording of this, and the only version that's available is from the All Night Wrong live album when Allan played on his tour in the year 2002 or 2003. So this song was really only a staple of those live shows, I think, for 1 or 2 years, and then that's it. So I'm going to go through the chords now, and then I'll do the lead sheet afterwards. What's interesting is, again, this is an excellent showcase of how Allan thinks of chords. He's thinking, I think, remember, this is just my interpretation with all my research. He's thinking of a key, but he's not playing the chords tertiary or like in thirds. He's sort of thinking, these are the notes I have available, and I can choose any interval structure. And of course, if you follow my videos or know anything about Allan's playing, you know that's a big theme of his. So I think the way that Allan's thinking of it, he's going from like a D harmonic minor to D minor. So this is the name of this chord is a little strange. I would call this a D minor major 9 sharp 5, which is really weird, but I think that's how Allan's sort of thinking of the chord, or at least thinking of the notes in that key. Because we have a D, a B flat, an F, a C sharp, and then an E. So we have a 1, our flat 3, and then our major 7. So we have a minor major 7, and then we have our 5, which is technically should be a flat 13 or a flat 6, but that, once again, once you start to step outside tertiary harmony, naming these chords are really weird, especially when you have flat 6s. Sometimes it's easier just to think of it as a sharp 5, even though diatonically it's the 6th degree in your scale. So then we have that sharp 5, and then we have E, which is our 9. So what he's doing is he's arpeggiating. It's really just these two chords. He's arpeggiating the chord and then moving the major 7 down to the flat 7, or the minor 7. So it's just like that. And then that whole thing repeats down a whole step to C, but now instead of it being arpeggiated, Allan sort of plays everything at the same time. I don't think he's playing the flat 6 every time. He might be hitting it with his thumb, but you kind of just grab with the notes however you can. It's really just the top 3 and then the bottom one. If you hit the flat 6, that's fine. I think it might be ringing out only because of the previous chord. He's kind of sliding it down. Like that. So once again, we went from the major 7 to the minor 7, and then you do the same thing a whole step down in B flat. Now, the second time it happens, what's interesting is that you actually start on the flat 7 and move to the major 7, and you're arpeggiated. Then move down to G with the major 7. And here's the most interesting one of them all. You play it in F, but now you play the flat 6, or the sharp 5, and then the flat 7. So what's interesting here is that we have the flat 7, if my finger can reach it, the major 7, and then the root. We have 3 notes in a row, which is very unusual. So naming this chord would be really tough. I guess it's sort of like a F minor 7 with the, or F minor 9, add major 7. That's why I said it becomes really weird. But that's the chord that he's playing. Then after that, Allan plays this, which is once again a little interesting. We have the root, the flat 7, the sharp 4, the 5, and then the major 3rd. So I think the best way to call this is like an F sharp 7, and then we're adding in the sharp 11. So this is a 7 sharp 11 chord, a 7 add sharp 11, a Lydian dominant chord. And then you basically take that shape and you just move it down now to an F minor add 11, because we have F flat 3, oops, sorry, F flat 3, and then our 5, so F minor right here, and then we're adding in the 11. And that also repeats at the end of the song. The only difference is that after that F minor add 11, Allan might play the whole step up, you know, using the bar, sort of like what he does at the end of funnels or Things You See. I think I might be thinking of Letters of Mark. Something that he does is pretty common. So anyway, that's just the chord sequence. It's just those two chords, that harmonic minor scale to the minor sound, and he moves that down the neck. So now we're going to do the scale sequences, or at least what Allan wrote out for his chart. Alright, so before I get really in depth into Allan's scale chart, I figured this is what Allan's chart looks like. Now we can see there's sort of three columns. We have one on the left, and then the main part in the middle, which is his scale choices, and then on the right we have a bunch of numbers. So instead of me going through what I've transcribed and then try to figure out how the scale chart fits into it, I think I'll just talk about how the scale chart is written out, and then show you some examples with what Allan's playing in there. So the first column, I think, is what Allan's thinking of for what chords and what the harmony is, which is not a specific chord voicing, but more or less what the harmony kind of is. So the first thing that we have there is FX, and we just played before the F minor with the add 11. So when that happens at the end of the intro part, this chord now begins the solo section. Now what's interesting is Allan plays sort of the harmony first, then solos, and then gets out of the solo and goes into the solo section, into the outro chord arpeggiated section. So what's interesting is, so we have the FX, which is what I think Allan's thinking of the harmony, then the scale choice that you have that Allan uses to play, which is FX, and if you've watched my videos, you know that that means F Dorian, or E flat major, basically the same thing, just two different ways of thinking of it. And then we have an 8 on the side. Now that whole column of numbers represents the amount of measures to that section lasts for. Now what's interesting is that when Allan plays the chords or the harmony by himself, this is a little off because it's 4 times in the beginning, but then when Allan starts the actual solo part, when he switches on his distortion, then the number sequence is correct. Then it's 8 times. But when he's playing the harmony by himself, playing the chords, it's 4 times here. So we have this F minor at 11, and Allan's thinking of F Dorian or E flat major, which lasts for 4 times, not 8. Remember, we're talking about the chord section before. Then the next part we have underneath that is D flat minus 5. And I try to figure out, well, what is that? Maybe it's a different way of how Allan thinks of his scale. But then when I looked at my transcription, I realized Allan was playing this, which is basically, and we've seen this chord before, it's one of Allan's favorite voicings to use. It's a D flat major with an add 9, and then we're adding in the sharp 11. So I think this symbol is for Allan to think of Lydian, because remember, a sharp 4, sharp 11, and a flat 5 are the same interval. It's just how they're placed in what the order, the diatonically your sequence, your scale sequence. So if it's the 5th note, it's a flat 5. If it's the 4th note, it's a sharp 4. Now typically for Lydian, you want to have a sharp 4 because that indicates a 5th. If you would think of that sharp 4 as a flat 5, you have a major 3rd, and that to me indicates that you also have a perfect 4th because that degree needs to be used somewhere. So it's kind of a misnomer to think of it as a major with a flat 5. It makes more sense to think of it as a major with a sharp 4 or a sharp 11, but that's how Allan just interprets it. And then when we look at the scale chart, we see B flat Dorian or A flat major, and C sharp D flat is our 4 to A flat, meaning a Lydian sound. So I think this chord is represented by D flat flat 5, or really a D flat major with a sharp 4. And then we have the scale chart there, which is B flat Dorian or A major being played 4 times, or at least for 4 measures. And then we have the next sort of sequence, which is kind of odd, because I think in the song it goes something like something like that. Now when I try to figure out by looking at it, I realize, well, first off, what Allan wrote was a little wrong. He wrote B flat over F over B, but it should be F sharp, not F. So what happens is, I think this is what he means, we have a B flat major triad with an F sharp in the bass that Allan's playing, and he's actually playing this. You can hear the F sharp in there. But the bass player is actually playing a B on the bottom here. So that note, even though it's not being played by Allan, the bass is playing it, and I think that gives a better overall idea of what the harmony is. And Allan's playing this, it kind of looks like an F sharp major 7 sharp 5 chord, but you're adding in the open B, and then the B flat, and then he moves the B flat to B. That kind of sound, and that happens later, that same kind of variation of this chord, this arpeggiation. So Allan there has written out that famous kind of like gibberish looking scale thing, and if you watch my previous video about understanding Allan's scale chart, you'll see that this is a very common scale choice where Allan's playing. It has to do with when you're playing in a major key and you're adding in the flat 6 or the sharp 5. So any chord that has that sort of interval structure in there, you can use these 4 scales. And of course, this is what Allan's sheet looks like. So in there you can see F sharp with the little, I think someone said it was gamma, means F sharp major with an added sharp 5 or a flat 6. And you can also see that those numbers are missing. And I think that's just Allan's shorthand, and he already knows what they're supposed to be. He just doesn't need to write it in. So we have the A flat, X, and then a plus over there. I think that's A flat, X plus 4. He just didn't write the numbers in, which is Dorian sharp 4. B flat, X with the circle around it means melodic minor with the plus sign. I think he means plus 4, or sharp 11, which would be like Lydian minor, B flat Lydian minor. And then E flat, X with the circle, E flat melodic minor with the flat 6, meaning E flat harmonic minor. So those are what he's thinking of for that section, and that repeats, or that last 4 measures, I should say, over this section. So he's just really playing this chord, or just doing some sort of improvisation within that sort of key. And then after that, he has an A with the minus symbol, minus 5, which we talked about as A Lydian, and he plays something like on the record, or at least on the live version, which is a totally Lydian thing. We have like a B major and A major triad right next to each other, and he's got F sharp X or E for 4 measures. So it's an A Lydian sound, but he's thinking F sharp Dorian or E major. And then again we have the same slash chords, an F sharp with a D in the bass, and the actual bass player playing a G note, and it's the same. Alan's doing the same thing there, but then afterwards the bass then moves from G to F sharp, but Alan's still thinking within the same key and playing the same thing. So if we look, once again we have those same 4 cymbals that fit that particular key now. D with the added flat 6, E Dorian sharp 4, G Lydian minor, and B harmonic minor. So he's thinking of that in there, and that lasts for 2 measures. And what's interesting, then he's got the little the quotes on the bottom, meaning it's the same thing, but now we have a 10 instead of a 2. Now at first I thought that meant repeat that whole section 10 times, so it's 2 before that and 10 for the other, meaning 12, but it never added up. But I realized it's supposed to be 2 and 8, which adds to 10. So that bottom section lasts for 8 measures, and the one before it lasts for 2. So I think when Allan wrote that, he's thinking, when I'm soloing, that whole section, it lasts 10 measures. It's just the bottom note that moves down. I don't know why he just didn't write 8 on the bottom. I'm not him, so I don't know. But that's what he's doing there. Once again, we have like an F sharp major triad with the D in the bass, and the bass player playing a G. And then he eventually plays that F sharp. And then once the soloing happens, it's the same scales every time, except the only thing different is that that first sequence, the F minor with the add 11, lasts for 8 measures. So what you can do now, what I suggest, instead of me playing through the whole song, is you can now use this chart with that information and listen to Allan soloing and follow along with those repeats. The F 8 times for F Dorian, 4 times for B flat Dorian, 4 times for the F sharp with the added flat 6, 4 times of F sharp Dorian, 2 times for D major with the add 11, with the added flat 6, and then 10 times of the same thing, but now with F sharp being in the bass. And that's it. So that's kind of the jam section. I think that's why it's tough to sort of teach, because it's not like other songs where it's Allan plays this chord and this is the scale that he chooses. It's much freer, and there's also no keyboards, so it's not like Allan has a written out thing that he's playing. It's just him playing the harmony, then taking a solo with the bass, playing the root notes of the key that he wants to sort of get across, the tonality, and then goes back to playing the intro chords again. And that's it. And of course it just ends the same way, like I said, with the that kind of thing. So, as I said, it's relatively simple, but at least it's interesting to get an idea of not only how Allan thinks of the harmony, but kind of this free jam framework kind of thing, where it's not anything specific. There's sort of like it's a rough outline of what they're going to follow and improvise over, with a sort of written out head section. So that's it. Short video. I think it's short. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you guys